What a day. What a day out there. Absolutely barfing snow. Full on storm. Oh well, so I got what I had to do, got what I needed to do done. Checked out a couple other spots I'm familiar with, put some cameras out. Checked in some buck sign that I've seen. Found a new buck to possibly look into. On the fence. For all my hunting enthusiasts out there, can you see that? Good looking little buck. Not a little, but that's a good looking buck. Good chunky body on him. Anyway, yeah, I couldn't pull this off outside at the end. There's no way. It was like an absolute blizzard. Absolute blizzard. I'll show you right now. Well, I was going to have a sit down and a hangout for an hour and a bit or something, but it's not looking like it's going to be too camera friendly out here. So I did my thing already. I went looking all over for miles and miles to places I'm familiar with, looking for big buck sign. Found a nice buck, put some cameras out, and now I'm soaked. So I think I'm going to head her back early. I think safe to say all the game is probably going to be hunkered down for the snow blizzard. So, maybe I'll sit down in a comfy chair inside and I'll make sure some more people get heard shortly. Anyway, yeah, it was pretty snotty out there, so, and all people that have concern for my well-being, every move I make is very deliberate when I'm by myself, especially in this weather. Getting out of the box of the truck after loading the quad in, anything. Walking up the quad ramp to get in the box of the truck to strap it in the woods. Everything I do with absolute intent, because I am well aware of stupid accidents where you can fall, hook yourself up upside down, or knock yourself out, whatever. And I'm well aware if I do screw up, I'm dead. So, yeah, I'm taking care out there. Now, what else? Quick little ramble. You're not going to believe this bad luck. Oh my God. A couple of years ago, actually, when we first bought the house, all of a sudden, something weird was shorting out in our plumbing and house. The plumbing apparatus, electrical apparatuses downstairs are shorting out. Figured out it was the submersible pump for the well. Old friend of mine said something about 10 grand to line up a truck, get it done. I'm like, I looked it up online. Screw that. I hooked up my quad to the rope to pull the wellhead up, backed it up, pulled it out, switched up myself, put the wires back together, brand new pump in the water, done. 1 year later, the well pump quits. Shit, it's pissing rain. Did it again, got the warranty replacement pump, threw it down the well, wired it up, game on. Guess what? Here I am. A ferry ride, couple day drive north, and the well pump has crapped out again. Oh my God, that sucks. What to do? Shit. So I have to, I don't know, I got a couple friends I could probably try to see if they could do it. Or I just might have to go to some friends up north here, dump off all my stuff. And then drive to Fort St. John, jump in a plane, and fly home and pull my well pump out of the ground, replace it, and then get a ride back to the airport, drive back, fly up north, grab my truck, go to my friends, get all my gear again. What a pain. Every time you go away, right? It's not when you're at home, it's when you go away. Oh, it sucks. There you go. So I've got my chicken in the oven. My other half of my chicken I didn't cook the other night because the pan wasn't big enough that's in this place. So while I'm cooking my chicken, I'm going to hear some people's honest experiences and let my brain take a break. I've had many weird experiences on my 40 acres of land. It's the title of this email. Hi Steve, I live on 40 acres, mostly wooded piece of property in eastern Ohio. I'm 22 years old and started having a lot of weird shit happen when I was 16 and saw one of these things. My dad cleared some brush on a steep hill making a new trail with his track machine. I went down there about an hour later on the four-wheeler and turned up the new trail he made. The sides of the trails are thick with multiflora rose, some nasty shit. And I was going pretty fast up the new trail. And while I was going up the hill, this hairy figure was crouching down about 15 feet off the trail where I was riding. I didn't see it until I was parallel with the thing. I never looked directly at it, and I'm glad to not have its face stuck in my memory. I took off out of there faster than I was already going. It was pretty small, so it had to be a juvenile. It was very scrawny, and because it was crouching, I can't get a perfect estimate of the height, but it's probably around 5 feet tall. I've heard lots of weird sounds from these things, from whoops, long, deep yells, hoots, screeches, and what sounded like a wolf. But there are no wolves where I'm from. They're always loud, and I mean effing loud. I've never heard any animal in the woods or on a farm animal that could even get close to being that loud. I was down in the woods cutting firewood one time and just had an overwhelming fear come over me for no reason. I just turned my chainsaw off and grabbed my Browning A5 semi-auto shotgun loaded with 5 3-inch, 1-ounce slugs from the rack of my four-wheeler. Awesome shotgun, by the way. And I was drawn to this certain area, staring into the brush like I knew something was there. I could feel it, but I couldn't see anything. But for some reason, I knew something's there. I just left for the day. Last early December, right before rifle season, I decided to go on a little walk, 45 minutes up before dark while it was snowing. While I was walking on the trails, I ran into some tracks from one of these things. From the snow on the ground and the snow that was filling in the tracks, that thing was there 15 minutes before I was. It scared the shit out of me. I snapped some quick pictures and got out of there. With the 3/8 of an inch wet snow on top of some 4-inch grass and leaves, the tracks being snowed in, the pictures are bad. I'm not going to waste your time on them. Sorry if this is too long or hard to read. I left a lot out. I've had so much weird shit happen to me that I can't even remember some of the things that weren't so bad. I'll leave you some pictures of a tree that was bent over across one of the trails blocking it. I was gone for about 2 months hanging out with my friends and found it when I came back home last year. I'm not saying Sasquatch did this, maybe something in nature, but I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. Maybe you could tell me something new. You can use my story and my name if you want. It's time to stop being scared of people laughing. I've been telling more people about these things that I've been telling more people about these things that happened to me. And I tell my friends, if they don't believe me, come spend 2 weeks with me and I'll guarantee you'll have an experience. They get the look of fear on their face. Anyways, I wish you and your family the best. Sincerely, Travis Miller. Travis, I appreciate your email, my man. And I believe you. And I'll bet none of your friends take up the offer, because none of my friends ever take up the offer when I tell them I can take them to where these people are. Not once. Let's go at the bent over tree. Yeah, and there you go, you guys. There is another one. Another member of the club. So many. It's just unfrickin' believable. I was thinking about it the other day. It seems like yesterday was when I first come out and admitted to knowing about this. It literally seems like yesterday to me. How long has this been? 4 years or something? 5? What? 3? 4? 4. I don't know. I'd have to look back. 4 anyway, for sure, I think. How can there be this many eyewitnesses and we don't hear about it via mainstream or the education system, right? I'll bite my lip. 6th Sense encounter story. with a dog by my side. Howdy, Steve. After this encounter story happened, I stumbled upon your channel while researching the Sasquatch subject. Thank you for being real in your approach and not sugarcoating the BS. I have watched and read a ton of content on this subject, and you're right about the idiots out there. People that are seemingly purposely discrediting the subject. There are always whacks and quacks in every subject. It's up to the individual to sort it out. That's absolutely correct. Thank you for doing what you do and making this about the people that have been changed by and or ridiculed for their encounter. Alright, enough with the lips to cheek stuff. I'm just a regular dude with a passion for the outdoors. Hiking, backcountry camping, fishing, hunting, and so on. I'm in my early 40s. During the last few years, my passion has led me to become a licensed guide and wilderness skills instructor. It's not my full-time gig. Like you have said, it's not really conducive to family life. No, it's not. You're going to go into camp single? And if you don't go into camp single, you're coming out single, probably. Unless you can bring your partner with you. I do it for fun. A bit of extra coin now and then, and to help others with upping their skill level to be more confident outdoors. I don't want anyone to think I'm writing this for a plug or any crap like that. Giving you and your community a little background to relate to. So please, leave my name out. I do applaud those that are coming genuinely forward with their names. Don't get me wrong. And here is the story. I fostered a rescue dog for a few months last year. He was an Australian Shepherd. He was a very loving and protective dog. A bit too rambunctious and protective for my household with 3 kids under 3 years old. I would take him for walks at night by my house, and he would always go nuts when we came across a game path that crossed either the trail or the road we were walking on. He would want to immediately go down the trail and go after whatever he was smelling at the time. Whenever we heard coyotes in the woods, he would become unhinged a bit and want to go after them too. Some foreshadowing. Last year, Memorial Day, when the world was still somewhat sane, 2019, I took the dog on a hike 3 miles back into one of the wilderness areas in the Adirondack Park of New York, about 2 hours from where I live. It was a day hike to scout out a hunting location near a lean-to that was nestled on the side of a lake. I've been on and off that trail a couple times before, hiking and hunting. This time I went a ways further to where the topography looked better on the topo map for game movement. And as we got about 1.5 miles in, I started to get that feeling that something or someone was present. The dog started acting different at the same time. He was sort of side-eyeing the woods as we moved along. At a couple of points, the deeper we got, the feeling got stronger, and the dog would just stop in his tracks and sniff in the air off to our right. Of course, I tried to see if I could smell anything, but I couldn't. And some of my friends think I'm crazy when I tell them I can smell deer or bear in the woods if they are near, and the wind is right. I've actually shot deer before following my nose. I'm sure you will agree with me. Yeah, when they're rutted up, especially elk too, right? Anyway, I didn't smell anything, and I had to coax the dog to keep moving. He didn't want to give chase. He just didn't want to move. At one point, it sounded like we were being paralleled by something 50 yards to our right. We would walk, it would walk. We would stop, it would stop, kind of thing. I spent enough time in the woods to know your movements can echo, and it might sound like something is following you in certain terrain. I told myself that's what it was. I couldn't shake that feeling, though, and neither could the dog. And as we were getting close to the lean-to, we came across a pair of white-tailed deer jaws, perfectly laid out on the side of the trail. He immediately stopped to sniff them, and the ground around us still acting sketched out. I made a joke about perhaps Sasquatch left them there as a sign that it was a good hunting spot. Who doesn't talk to their dog, right? I'll stop here to clarify something real quick. Before this trip, I was on the fence about the existence of Sasquatch. I've seen the Patterson video and some of the crap Bigfoot shows on TV, and I've always remained skeptical yet open-minded. The subject was intriguing, but never did I think I would run into one or have an encounter in the wild. Now back to the story. I decided to leave the jawbones where they were and moved on to the lean-to. And as we got to the lean-to, the dog was on edge. And just as we stepped into the opening, something that was behind the lean-to took off. And whatever it was big. It was like the forest shook. The dog stopped, started shaking, and wanted nothing to do with going after whatever it was. Now think back to the beginning when I described the dog's usual demeanor when animals were present. This time he looked genuinely freaked out. It took me a few sketched out minutes to gather myself from what just happened. I gathered up some firewood real quick to smoke out the bugs and cook up some lunch. And once I got the fire started and sat down, I noticed how quiet it was. Not a frickin' sound. I didn't think much of it, other than a bit of thankfulness of the quiet. Remember 3 kids under 3 at home. I brought some dog food for my buddy, but he wasn't interested in eating. Strange. I ate my lunch and felt peaceful. After about an hour and a half, I put out the fire and headed back the 3 miles out. Again, at several points on the trail, the dog and I got that overwhelming feeling again. We made it out a lot quicker than we went in, for sure. Normally I would stop to take pics or look at glacial erratics strewn through the forest. I just want to get out of there. On the way home, I couldn't stop thinking about Sasquatch. It was this gut feeling I had, and I couldn't shake it. And after a few weeks, I still couldn't get it out of my head. I started down the rabbit hole, and here we are. And since then, I found out that there is a ton of Sasquatch encounters and experiences throughout the Adirondack Park. You've shared a couple stories from here as well. I'd always associated it with a Pacific Northwest occurrence. It turns out it's a worldwide thing. I don't envy you or anyone else that got a visual of one of these beings. I'm not sure if I would go back in the wilderness if I did. At least for now, I can attribute my experience to perhaps imagination. My gut and those jawbones tell me different. Thanks again, sir. Cheers. Sincerely, Devin. Welcome to the club, my man. Welcome to the club. You know what it was. You know what it was. And so do we. So do we. Who's next? We've got a chunk of reading here. Man, I'm starting to relax now, finally. I feel like I'm melting, actually. Once you ran around in a snow blizzard for half a day, you guys know what I'm talking about. When you sit down, you get warm, and you finally get comfortable and relaxed, like, oh, yeah. Better than crawling into a tent. Sasquatch, please read. Hello, Steve, this will be long. So, personally, I think you'd enjoy this. I'd love for you to share with YouTube, but totally understand if you decide not to. You can call me William. Let me first start out by saying I am a big fan of your YouTube channel. I love your no bullshit attitude and your understanding on how the world works and how to not follow the human herd. I love the outdoors. I'm a fisherman, just not a game hunter. But I still enjoy your hunting videos and information involved with it all. I've learned a lot personally from them, so thank you. Now, I'm sort of young here when it comes to life experience since I'm only 29, but I was raised to have an open mind on everything. Developed a unique trait of observing everything. Remembering things I've read, basically connecting the dots through hours of research, and I grew up understanding how the world truly works behind all the mainstream media news nonsense. And I still call my elders sir and ma'am. I may tend to ramble, but I eventually get to points. This email will touch upon things I know, things I believe, and experiences of my own, and how this topic can have an effect on someone's mind in many different ways. It all started for me and this subject when I was about 10 years old. My brother, being 16 at the time, who's a skeptic, but I still respect, was doing a school project about who knows what, probably myths and legends, but the topic he had was Bigfoot. We had a computer with one of those old encyclopedia CDs you could use to search for anything animal-related, political, geographical, etc., you name it. And guess what? Bigfoot had its own page and related sources on the subject. I saw the Patterson-Gimlin film for the first time on a 90s desktop computer, along with the Ohio howl of old. And even when I was 10 years old, Steve, I knew what I was seeing. And I thought to myself, okay, gorillas exist. So that's definitely an upright walking ape thing. So fast forward through time. I go through high school, college. I watch shows like Monster Quest. Yes, finding Bigfoot, unfortunately, and everything else related to the topic. I'm reading books, finding articles, listening to eyewitness testimony, you name it. I'm going through my early 20s, starting to realize all the weight behind this topic. How these shows on TV basically mock the subject in the end. How news station anchors always have a quick laugh and or a sarcastic joke whenever an encounter is brought up within a respective town. Even countless scientists denial on the subject. Well, here I am, always thinking, isn't science about exploring the unknown, being open about everything, discovering the hidden? I'm sitting here watching scientists laugh on shows and crack jokes all the way to the big-time news, like DNA analysis being denied because they came back inconclusive or not properly institutionalized or what have you. Yeah, no shit, because big Sasquatch isn't in the system yet. Now let me explain this. I hate the phrase conspiracy theorist. I feel it's a cop-out or a label given to someone who is just questioning something drastically important or something that just doesn't seem right. It can also get embarrassing because you feel powerless when people ridicule you, tell you to keep wearing your tinfoil hat, or that you're a nut job, etc. All because it's how they're programmed. Before I go on about why I believe this subject is being covered up, per se, to an extent, I'll tell you about some of my own experiences. They may not be up to par with a lot of the good stories that roll through here, but they are experiences nonetheless. Still being on the same timeline, I'm in my early 20s, it's 2011, 2012. I move out to northern Arkansas near the Ozark National Forest area and the Twin Lakes region for a few years to finish schooling, criminal justice. Beautiful scenic routes in that part of the U.S., I will say, highly underrated. I lived in a cabin about 3 miles down a rocky road and another 5 or so miles from the nearest small town. Heaven, you could say. Haha. It had a decent pond and it was on about 70 acres of grassland and forested area. I've come across one black bear, one mountain lion, wild hog, deer, fox, and even the coyotes would always be close by. You'd hear them all the time. And on my spare time, if I wasn't fishing, collecting unique rocks, or bird watching, or just having a beer on the porch, I would walk the woods with a .22 and enjoy life. I personally never saw anything unusual, but there were times when I felt like I was being watched. I know many people are against this experience, but you feel it. You could be walking, the wind slightly flowing, trees moving, then all of a sudden it's like you get hit with a frequency or something. As if someone has a set of binoculars on you. It's quite eerie. You become uncomfortable. You then think about getting back to the cabin or leaving the area because, hey, who knows? Black bear or mountain lion can be a handful depending on mood. So that's just my first instinct. The second experience is wood knocks. I would always get wood knocks, blatant ones too, from far away. Not just a stick falling from a tree or a tree falling on another. Even odd howls in the night. You could hear them over all the dogs' howls from the neighbors' properties scattered throughout. Sometimes I thought about running in that direction, but I never did. Why? I truly don't know. All those experiences just get lost in time, and life happens. This third experience is a good one. I'm about 25 at the time, still living in the cabin, down the 3 miles of back road. 2 of my close friends decided to visit me for a weekend. Both of them are skeptics at this point in life, but the only info they truly hear about the subject are always coming from either me telling them stories, sending them links, etc. They're both my age. Same interests. One is even a hunter. One of the nights we went out and got some drinks, played some pool and went bowling, sort of a mellow night. The buzz wore off for me and it was about 11 p.m. I was driving my car back to the cabin. We were in Mountain Home. Shout out, beautiful town. So it was about 45 minutes to an hour drive back. Around 12 a.m., I come to a 3-mile rocky road I turn on to get to the cabin property. A good part of the entrance does have a few houses about a quarter mile down, but it's surrounded by forest on both sides. As soon as I turn, I pulled to the side because my buddies wanted to get out to take a pee, and one of them saw an armadillo visible in my headlights as soon as I turned. So they were pretty excited, being from northern Illinois. The critter scurried into the tree line just off the road. One of my buddies, still being a little buzzed, started throwing marble-sized rocks into the tree line to maybe scare the armadillo back out. After my other buddy was finished taking a pee, he walked over and started joining him, while both of them were looking into the tree line, continuing to throw. I was still sitting in the driver's seat, patiently waiting, thinking nothing of it. I went to look down at my phone, and all of a sudden, both of them came darting back into the car, screaming, "Go, go, go, drive." As I was taking off and yelling anxiously, What the F's going on? Picture me also saying with a sort of a laugh because my two friends got spooked by an armadillo. Turns out they didn't. The heavy breathing cooled off, and they both started to explain how something their height moved the branches and took off back into the woods. Highly intrigued, I told them to then explain further. One of them said, "Okay, man, we're throwing rocks, you know. Obviously, you could hear the pebbles hitting the leaves and branches as they went by. But this last one I threw, it's like it almost hit a silhouette in the trees, and it got spooked and took off." They said they could see a dark outline of what they explained to be an upright figure, a juvenile. They then went on to further rationalize their experience. They said 100% it wasn't the armadillo. They also both explained whatever it was had the intelligence and awareness to observe them the whole time, but once a rock got too close for comfort, it blew its cover and bolted back. They also swallowed their damn pride and said it made two grown men run back to the vehicle in fear and confusion. And my buddies and I have been through some crazy things in life so far. Until this day, both of them will honestly and respectfully tell their story to anyone who asks, and will tell you the same information. It was either some little kid out in the forest at 12 a.m. or it was a juvenile Bigfoot. But they are still skeptical, believe it or not. Which brings me out to my point that some individuals just can't handle the truth of this species being out there. Whether they just can't handle it, only believe what is told through mainstream, or are just plain afraid to come forward and join the truth. It's unfortunate. Now, this next topic may not sit well with some people, but this is why I believe this species is kept in the mythological beast department. Number one, this is an easy one, money. I'm sure most of us have knowledge on the power the endangered spotted owl had on the logging industry in the 80s and the 90s. That was just an owl. Imagine how a 6 to 8 foot tall intelligent apex predator being endangered will have an effect on the industry. Adding to this, imagine the topic going mainstream. National forests are already losing funding. You think mommy and daddy of 3 little ones want to take their children to the forest now when it's 100% known there's a species of wild human out there capable of killing you for all we know, abducting you? On one side of the spectrum, people will be afraid, and no one will walk on trails anymore. Plus, this is a big one, now the forestry department that has hundreds of missing 411 cases on their hands. What do you think those poor family members are going to point their... What do you think those poor family members are going to point their fingers at now? The families that have no answers, no evidence, nothing on their loved one's disappearance. Until now, a 6 to 8 foot tall apex predator becoming mainstream. Now there's a culprit. Now there's also a reason to sue the forestry governments because they've been lying to the public for decades. Do you understand this domino effect here? Connecting the dots? Number two, the other side of the spectrum. The individuals or groups that feed off the spotlight. Imagine the species being mainstream and wild hunters and backwoods landowners will try and kill it for sport or popularity. Humans fear what they don't understand. Humans also destroy what they don't understand. It's in our DNA. I just don't think humans as a whole will be able to knowingly live alongside another species of humanoid wild people. Imagine 24 hours of coverage on Fox, CNN, or any of the major networks stating that an intelligent hominid exists, besting us in height, weight, natural abilities, and even some abilities we have yet to comprehend. With how messed up we are today as a society, you think we could handle that? We can't even go about our lives without killing each other because of our beliefs, skin color, or location. It's insane. Connect those dots. Plus, having to listen to all the stories of private groups supposedly hunting them down. How sinister is that? Number 3. This one always receives controversy. Maybe it's the way I poorly explain it, but I still stand corrected on this one. This topic being evolution and religion factors. I went to college. I can also tell you college is a scam, an institution that it all truly wants in the end is profit and to hold on to the norms. If I wanted to, I could just buy a textbook and read it myself to gain the knowledge, but instead I have to pay thousands of dollars just for a piece of paper with the institution's name plastered on it. Basically saying I can get a higher paying job. But then again, they seem to print a new textbook every year's stating, quote, researchers were wrong about this, end quote. It's pathetic how ignorant we are as a species. Since my fingers are suffering, if you want this to be explained to you better, watch a lecture called Everything You Know Is Wrong by Lloyd Pye. In short, I believe colleges or the education field in general would be too proud to change the narrative on evolution and would lose themselves trying to piece together Sasquatch into the mix. Imagine the shame and ridicule to all the pompous professors and scientists that actively laughed in the faces of others who have experienced the species. I'm sure I can continue on, and I'm also sure I missed a lot of important points I'll regret forgetting once I send this. But all I know from experience and knowledge is this species exists. There are hundreds of names for them. They're spoken of throughout native cultures in almost every country around the planet. Prints, language, audio, video, DNA, it's all there. Tell your listeners, it's not going to be spoon-fed to you. Stop asking for links or sources. You have to go there and find the information yourself. Dig, dig, dig. That's how I did it. Best of luck on your hunting season, Steve. Be safe out there as well. To good health, you and your friends. Thoroughly enjoyed that email, my friend. You nailed it. You nailed a lot there. You've seen a lot. You know a lot. Thank God your friends want to talk about it. And I don't know how long you've been following the channel or not, but for me, this goes way beyond any kind of money at this stage of the game. This stage of the ride for gaining knowledge, this goes way, way, way beyond any money factor or education factor. It's the easiest topic that you can deliver to the community to prove that we are being absolutely misled and lied to with almost basically everything. Right? Yeah. Anyway, I'm starting to melt away now, if you notice, but I'm having a tough time reading the last few paragraphs. I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with my well here pretty quick here. Look at flights or who I can phone to possibly pull this shit off for me. But anyway, appreciate you sending that email, man. Appreciate it a lot. And I hope there's more people. I just hope a lot of people are getting, finding comfort, finding knowledge, and finding confidence after and while listening to these thousands of people. I really sincerely hope that's what it's doing, because that's what we're trying to do. I hope it is working for far, far more than it isn't. You know what I mean? Anyway, I gotta get going. I can start babbling right now. I voted in Canada here. We had an election a couple weeks ago. I voted. Make sure you go out and vote no matter what country you're in. If you got the opportunity to vote, you better vote, because if you don't count, right? You don't count. And I'll bite my lip on that topic too, because I could really go off right now, but I won't. But check this out in the tail end here. I'll leave you with an interesting video. The other day I made a video out in the snow, way the hell out there. And I climbed up on the quad and I put the camera on the front of the quad in the box of the truck and I sat there and made a video for all you. And then I jumped off and I decided I'm going to walk down the hill here, see what's around the corner. I've got that disease. I got that annoying disease where I have to go see what's around that corner, whether it's straight down forever or straight up. And I also have to see what's over the top of that hill. I can't stop myself. So I'm walking down that snowy area, and right away I see prints that have been snowed in a bit going down ahead of me, and I'm stepping in them. I'm like, oh, somebody else must have walked down here. So I'm walking in the prints going downhill, looking at the prints like a dumbass as I'm kind of looking at them thinking, oh, these aren't human. This is looking like big grizzly tracks. Because big grizzly basically has the same stride we do. And my boot's sitting inside the prints. I'm like, wow, it's a big bear. And as I'm walking down in the tracks, figuring out it's a grizzly bear, I look up and right in front of me is a spinal column and hip bone and then a pile of nasty, broad, black moose hide and bones and shit on the left. I'm like, oh, you dumb ass. I walked right into it. But anyways, I walked right into it, head down, looking at tracks. Even though it was in wide open terrain, what a dumbass. So I beat myself up for that. But if there was an active grizzly bear on that kill, he would have been laying on top of it, which I would have seen right away. And there also would have been magpies, gray jays, and ravens squawking around, which would have heightened my senses too, but still I felt a little stupid for just walking right up to it. Anyways, I videotaped it, so here you go. You can watch this on the closing here. I'll see you maybe tomorrow. ShareMyStory.howtohunt.com. So I just finished making the video. Decided to go for a walk downhill here, and I thought I was stepping in human tracks here. Pretty big. But then I'm looking down like a dumbass following me, thinking, that almost looks like an old grizzly bear. Like, that is a big grizzly bear. I didn't even notice I'm walking right up to a frickin' moose kill right in front of my face. Dumbass. Left over from somebody. Grizzly came right through here. I guess he already knows there's no meat left on it. The hide and bones. And then he checked it out. I'm stepping in his prints. He stepped here and here and here. That's a big bear. Whew. And he kept on going. Looking for something better for his tummy. There you go. I'm out of here.